Good morning. Hope you're doing fine. So, today we will talk about private sector and public sector enterprises. And this is the third chapter of your textbook, Private, Public, and Global Enterprises. See, students, Indian economy is a mixed economy as it is consist of both privately owned and government owned business enterprises. Okay, so basically we can divide the economy into two sectors. One is private sector and the other one is public sector. Public sector is controlled by central or the state government, whereas private sector is controlled by individuals or group of individuals. There are some companies which are jointly managed, so we call it joint sector enterprises, or also PPP, that is public-private partnership. So let us talk about private sector enterprises, though you have covered this in last chapter, where business forms of business organizations, wherein you have done all the types of private sector businesses owned by individuals or a group of individuals, like sole proprietorship, partnership, joint Hindu family business, then cooperative societies, joint stock companies, right? So all these comes under private sector enterprises. And the newest, not very new, but yes, the newest form is the MNCs. Those are multinational corporations, and these corporations basically operate in more than one country, and we also call them global enterprises. Now, nothing much to talk about private sector enterprises in this chapter. Let us move to public sector enterprises, that is PSUs, commonly known as PSUs is public sector units. Okay. Now, these, if you check on your screen, there are many companies: HAL, MTNL, NALCO, NTPC. Okay, there's many: SAIL, GAIL, HP, BAIL, then Bharat Petroleum. So many are there. These are just examples. There are many more which are under public sector enterprises. Now, these companies are owned and managed by central or state government, or sometimes by both. And the government participates in economic activity of the country through these enterprises. And talking about the features, the capital is contributed here by the government only, right? Either state or central government. And these companies or these enterprises are started for public welfare or service. Normally for business, what is the primary objective? Profit making. But for these PSUs, the main objective is public welfare or service. Management and control are in the hands of government, and they are accountable to the public. Where do the government get money from? From the taxpayer. Yes, people of the country pay tax, and this tax money is used in the welfare of public. So the accountability of these enterprises is set with the government. Now, let us talk about the forms of public sector enterprises. Now we know what are public sector enterprises. Now these can be classified into three categories. One is departmental undertaking, statutory corporation, and the third one is government company. Today we'll discuss about departmental undertakings. Departmental undertaking. Examples like Indian Railways, Post and Telegraph Services. These are examples. These are established as departments of the ministry. Whenever budget is passed, must railway budget, rail budget, Yeah, and even now these evacuation flights which are working for COVID-19 pandemic is of Air India, right? So Air India is not a departmental undertaking, but yeah, it's an PSU only. Now talking about features, it doesn't have no separate entity. That means no separate legal entity. Works under government. Government ministry, like Ministry of Telegram, Ministry of Communication, Ministry of Railways, right? So these enterprises basically work under the ministries and financed by annual budget allocation of the government, and all its earnings also go to the government treasury. Accounting and audit. The government rules related to audit and accounting are applicable to these organizations. Talking about the employees, how employees are recruited? They are recruited and appointed as per the government rules and policies. And these undertakings are accountable to the concerned ministry, right? So whosoever will be the head of Indian Railways will report to the railway minister. It's like this. Now, what this departmental undertakings are suitable for, where secrecy is required, or where private sector players are not very keen to invest, and mainly secrecy is very important, such as defense, where full government control is needed. Initially, these undertakings were like started when private sector people didn't wanted to invest because the investment outlay was very huge, and in fact private people at that point of time didn't had that much of money, wherein government could invest like in railways, post and telegraph services, then communication. Later on, yes, some sectors were disinvested. We'll talk about it later in the chapter. So this was departmental undertaking. Now let us talk about the merits and demerits. Now, it is more effective in achieving the objective laid by government. Why? Because it is directly under control of government. It is a source of income to the government as the revenue goes to government treasury, accountable to parliament for all its actions, which ensures proper utilization of funds, suitable for activities where secrecy and strict control is required, like defense production. HAL is the company, yeah, doing working under this. Now, it suffers from limitations. Now, see, government companies, again coming back to government companies where ministers and officials, there's a lot of interferences from ministers and top officials in their working, and they lack flexibility, which is essential for smooth operations. Then they also suffer from red tapeism in day-to-day work. What is red tapeism? Too much of processes to be followed, too much approvals from one person, file will move to another person, right? So a lot of red tapeism is there in departmental undertakings. These organizations are usually insensitive to consumer needs. So they do not provide goods and adequate services to them, right? So what they see, they are accountable to the ministry. They want to keep them happy, right? So they are not customer or consumer oriented. Now, such organizations are managed by civil servants and government officials who may not have the necessary expertise and experience in the management. So this is another limitation. Hope it is clear. Thank you. That's it for today's class. I would advise you to read the content from the textbook, whatever is being covered in today's video. Thank you. Stay safe. Stay home.